What is going on, guys? Money Webby here, back again. We got some playoff football here, Wildcard Weekend, one of the best weekends of the year. Playoff football, you can't really argue with that. So I'm very excited for this weekend. I got my picks for each and every game for this weekend. The NFC games are looking a lot more appetizing compared to the AFC. I do like that Titans-Chiefs games, but who would have thought the Bills against the Jaguars would be happening in the playoffs? If you told me that was going to happen, I probably would have sent you a few $1,000s because you would have been a genius, but that's a very interesting matchup there. Some players that have never even sniffed the playoffs before in that matchup, but Titans-Chiefs, like I said, I think that would be a very close game. Both those teams kind of match up similarly in their offenses and defenses. Then we got the Falcons-Rams, two high-powered offenses with some defenses that really fly around. Panthers-Saints, we've already seen those two teams match up twice this year, and the Saints kind of beat them down both of those games, so that'll be interesting to see for a third time. It really depends on which Cam Newton shows up in that game, but let's just start breaking it down game by game. Before we get going, though, make sure to drop a like on the video. Let's try to get over 50 likes on this video. I'd greatly appreciate it, and definitely subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be doing these pick videos every single week for the playoffs. Next week, we'll have Divisional, then the conference, and the Super Bowl pick. Hopefully, my Patriots will be playing that game, but let's get into it. First game, we got Bills versus Jaguars. That game, like I said, it's going to be an interesting game here. But with LeSean McCoy hurt, banged up, he's a game-time decision according to Adam Schefter. I just favored the Jaguars considering that because you don't want to get one-dimensional against the Jaguars with their pass defense, two of the best cornerbacks in the league. Like, that just spells disaster for me if they can't get any run game going. So I'm going to favor the Jaguars in that game. It should be a very low-scoring game. The Bills have a solid defense in their own right, but the one thing that concerns me in the Bills front is that their run defense has been kind of suspect this year. So if they can get the run game going for the Jaguars, it could be a very ugly game for the Bills side. But their run defense, if they can stop Leonard Fournette in this game, that they could honestly kind of eke it out, I guess, just by getting like a defensive stop, like turnovers, and that can generate some points through their defense. If they can get like a defensive touchdown, that would be massive because any score in this game is going to be huge. Like I said, it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I'm going to favor the Jaguars in that one just because LeSean McCoy is kind of banged up, limiting their running offense. If they can't run the ball against the Jaguars, it's going to be a very ugly game. So I'm going to pick the Jaguars in that one. And then we got the Titans-Chiefs in the next matchup. This game, one of the biggest home field advantages you can find is Kansas City. That stadium is loud, like on the TV. When you're listening to it on the TV, it feels like you're at the stadium. That's just how loud they are. If you compare the records, Kansas City at home compared to the Titans on the road, Kansas City is 6-2. And the Titans are 3-5 on the road. So that spells a big advantage for me for the Chiefs. And they kind of finished the year pretty hot. They won against Chargers in a huge game, like 30-13, and they beat up on the Dolphins too. I mean, that wasn't much of a test, but that game against the Chargers was very impressive to me. And they started the year very hot. We kind of saw how good of a team they actually are. Still a bit concerned about their defense, but it looks like their offense is starting to turn around. They got some nice weapons with Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Kareem Hunt. So I think they can do enough on offense to win this game against the Titans. And Marcus Mariota has been very suspect this year. He's been kind of having a lot of bad games, a lot of head-scratching throws. So I think they can force him to get a turnover or two. In Kansas City, I think their offense can just do enough with these weapons. They have to win this game. With their weapons, I just think they have to win this game against Tennessee. Their offense isn't good enough to keep up with the Kansas City offense, and the Kansas City's defense did step it up a bit. They got Revis, and he kind of helped out a little bit in secondary. It seemed like they were only surrendered like 13 points to the Chargers, which was impressive, like I said. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs in that game, as you can tell. So we got the Jaguars and the Chiefs making it out of the wild card on the AFC side. And then moving on to the NFC side, the more exciting side, like I said, Falcons-Rams here. Got a great defense with the Falcons. Dan Quinn, he's got a very athletic, very fast defense going against the Rams, which has a very new and weird offense, the way they run things. They got Todd Gurley, being the main focal point of the offense, but he's getting a lot of like check down screen type work that he's just like, I don't know, just running past everyone. It seems like the play design seems very good from Sean McVay, like Todd Gurley getting him in open space almost every single time he gets the ball, it seems like. But Dan Quinn, I think he can do something here to kind of figure out this offense. Got a little bit of time to kind of dive into what Sean McVay is doing on the offensive side. And we also saw the Rams kind of try to throw the last game. The rest of their starters, I don't know if they're afraid of playing this Falcons team, because I honestly think the Falcons match up against this defense pretty well. So maybe they were kind of afraid to play the Falcons in this game, but the Panthers lost to the Falcons, so that kind of sucked for the Rams, I guess, if they were afraid to play this Falcons team. But I do like this matchup for the Falcons, like I'm saying. The speed on defense and their offense is pretty solid against the Rams. Julio Jones, a good matchup against Tremaine Johnson, I believe, will be covering him as the number one cornerback. I think that favors Julio Jones in that matchup. And Julio, it seems like they kind of saved him for the playoffs. He went off last playoffs. So yeah, I think the Falcons have the advantage in this game. Honestly, I think it could go either way. This is probably one of the hardest games to call here, because we just don't know how the Rams going to show up. Like Jared Goff, very new quarterback, obviously second year in the league, biggest game of his career by far. And we've seen the Falcons in the playoffs. Matt Ryan has that experience from last year, taking a hard L, going down to the Patriots after being up so much. So he's definitely going to have a chip on his shoulder in this game. But honestly, it could work out the other way with Matt Ryan being a little bit nervous about last year, kind of afraid to make that mistake. So it could go either way. But I think the Falcons will come out here pissed off about last year and have a good performance against the Rams. So I'm going to go with the Falcons in that game. Kind of an upset. Got the bird flying up there. Falcons is my pick. And for the fourth and final game, the Panthers versus Saints. Nice game here in the Dome with Drew Brees. It's good to see him back in the playoffs. A very likable guy. So against Cam Newton, like I was saying earlier, Cam Newton, he either can be like playing like insanely good, like 99 overall, or look like he's just like lost on the field with some of these throws like we saw last week against Atlanta. So that's really what it's going to come down to here. And the Saints defense has been pretty good. They've kind of locked down the Panthers offense for the most part, and the Saints offense has done some big damage to the Panthers. But rarely do you see like a team lose to another team 3 times out of the 3 times playing them in a year. So that's one thing that has me a bit concerned here. Can the Panthers finally figure out the Saints offense and figure out what the Saints are doing on defense? It seems like they have a pretty vanilla defense with just man coverage across the board and a lot of blitzes. So that is something to consider. I honestly think this game will be a bit closer than the ones that have been in the regular season. Could see this going down to like a last minute field goal or something like that. But I do think the Saints will eke it out here just because Cam Newton, he just has those head-scratching plays like I mentioned. Doesn't seem to have a complete game ever, and just could force a ball or two that could get turned over pretty easily against the Saints defense. It has a nose for the ball. So I'm going to favor the Saints here. And they are at home. They got that loud home field advantage similar to Kansas City. And Drew Brees, he's kind of a beast at home. And Alvin Kamara, way too fast in the dome, in the turf field. So that to me just thinks that the Saints offense is going to come out here flying around. Michael Thomas has done some good damage against the Panthers secondary as well. So I see the Saints offense moving the ball pretty easily against this Panthers defense. And I don't see Cam Newton keeping up the whole entire game. I honestly think this will be probably the highest scoring game of the whole entire 4 games here. So I think this game will be close though. But I'm going to go with the Saints just because they're at home. If this game was in Carolina, I'd honestly probably favor Carolina because the Saints offense isn't the same outside of the dome. And Carolina is pretty damn cold. I know they're getting like almost a foot of snow today or tomorrow, whenever you're watching this video, I guess. But I'm going to go with the Saints there in that matchup. So those are the 4 teams I got. I got the Jags, the Chiefs, the Falcons, and the Saints. And these are the matchups. We got the Steelers against the Jags. Those 2 teams already faced off. Earlier this year, the Jags took it down pretty handily, 30-9 in that game. Big Ben, he threw 5 picks in that game, 0 touchdowns. That was the game where he said, like, I don't know if I have it anymore. So that would be interesting to see if they actually do rematch. And then we got the Patriots-Chiefs, another rematch here. It's going to be a storybook ending with all these rematches. The Chiefs won 42-27. That was all the way back in week 1 when everyone was like, oh, crap, are the Patriots done? No, they aren't. They're back at the 1 seed. So that will be a good game, though, because the Chiefs normally play the Patriots pretty well. So that will be a very interesting game. It's probably the best games you can ask for in the AFC Divisional game. Then we'll have the Falcons against the Eagles. Another very interesting game with Nick Foles starting at quarterback, going against Falcons defense and against Dan Quinn. That could get ugly for Nick Foles in that one. Then we're going to have the Saints going against the Vikes, the 2 seed, a very good game. Another rematch from the regular season. And going back, I think that might have been week 1 as well. Week 1 or week 2. That was back when Sam Bradford was playing quarterback for the Vikings. Honestly, seems like a decade ago, but he had a good game there. And the Saints struggled a lot to run the ball, which will be interesting to see in this game. That was back when they had Adrian Peterson. Only had 60 yards on the ground in that game and 2.9 yards per carry. So we got 3 out of 4 rematches if all my predictions are right in the very interesting divisional round here. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Kind of some of my insight on this wild card weekend. The best I can do here. LaShawn McCoy is definitely an injury to target though. If you're considering betting on any of these games or anything like that, I didn't really want to cover the spreads on any of these games because that's kind of like picking hairs. They make these spreads so good on the playoff weekends. Normally I like to go with like money lines if I'm going to bet in any of these games. So something to consider there for all of these games. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Drop a like in the video if you did so I can keep these videos coming for you guys throughout the playoffs. Should be a good wild card weekend, especially over there in the NFC. 2 great games. Definitely subscribe as well to get these videos every single day. And if you're interested, gonna have some DraftKings picks for fantasy football this week for the wild card weekend. Some of my favorite players to target if you're playing on that for DFS NFL. So definitely keep it locked here. Hope you guys enjoy your playoff Sunday, Saturday, whenever the hell the games are. I think that's 2 days, Saturday, then Sunday. Hope you guys enjoy your playoff weekend. First one out of the 3 or whatever. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you back here next weekend.